Hasan was 32 years old. He came from a small village in Hunza, Pakistan. Life in Hunza was hard. The mountains were beautiful, but unforgiving. Hasan knew this better than most. He had worked as a porter on K2 before. It was dangerous work, but it paid more than anything else he could find. Hasan had a wife and children to support. He knew the risks, but he felt he had no choice. Hasan was a strong climber. He was also incredibly brave. He had seen avalanches. He had felt the bite of frostbite. But he kept going back to K2. It was in his blood. The mountain called to him. Perhaps it was the allure of the summit, maybe it was the money, or perhaps it was something more profound, a sense of purpose, a way to test himself against nature's brutal indifference. K2 is known as the Savage Mountain. It is the second highest mountain in the world. It is also considered the most dangerous. Many climbers have died trying to reach its summit. Hasan knew this. Everyone who dared to climb K2 knew this. Yet every year, climbers from around the world would arrive at the base camp, their eyes fixed on the peak. Porters like Hasan were essential to these expeditions. They carried the heavy loads, tents, food, oxygen, and equipment, the very things that gave the climbers a chance of survival. But the porters often lacked proper gear. Many did not have adequate clothing for the extreme cold. Some didn't even have proper boots. Hasan's employers did not provide him with supplemental oxygen. This was a death sentence at the higher altitudes. A cruel irony, carrying the means of survival for others but denied it himself. The tragedy unfolded near the bottleneck. This is one of the most treacherous sections of K2, a steep, narrow couloir swept by avalanches. It was here that Hasan found himself in trouble. He was struggling to breathe. The lack of oxygen was taking its toll. His vision blurred. His steps faltered. Kristin Harila, a Norwegian climber, was making a bid to summit K2 that day. She was on her way to setting a new world record for the fastest ascent of the world's 14 highest peaks. She encountered Hasan in the bottleneck. He was clearly in distress. Harila continued her ascent. Later, her team claimed they provided Hasan with oxygen. Others disputed this. Video footage emerged, showing climbers stepping over Hasan's body. The mountain was littered with the ghosts of past climbers, and now it seemed Hasan would join their ranks. The death of Hasan sparked outrage. People questioned Harila's actions. Why hadn't she stopped to help? Why was a porter's life seemingly valued less than a record-breaking summit? The climbing community grappled with difficult questions. Questions of ethics, responsibility, and the true cost of adventure. The Pakistani government promised an investigation, but little changed. Porters like Hasan remained vulnerable, their lives expendable. The mountains, indifferent, stood tall. The wind howled through the peaks, a mournful symphony for a life lost too soon. But Hasan's death was not just a tragedy, it was an indictment, a stark reminder of the disparities and injustices that persist in the world of mountaineering. Hasan's story, though, must not be forgotten. It must serve as a catalyst for change, a demand for better treatment of porters, stricter regulations, and a recognition that every life on the mountain is precious. Because the mountains may be indifferent, but we, as humans, do not have to be.